Southern American fried chicken. Southern fried chicken didn't start in a fast food kitchen. It started in the hands of West African women, enslaved across the American South in the 1700s, who brought with them a deep tradition of frying meat in palm oil. Scottish immigrants in the same region contributed their own habit of frying chicken in fat rather than baking it like the English did. Those two traditions collided in the American South, and what came out of that collision changed food history forever. The technique is specific. You soak the chicken in buttermilk for at least 12 hours. The acid breaks down the muscle fibers, tenderizing the meat from the inside. Then comes the dredge, seasoned flour with black pepper, garlic powder, paprika, and salt. Into a cast iron skillet with lard or shortening at 325 to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. The crust builds slowly layer by crackling layer until it's thick, craggy, and shatteringly crisp. That crust is engineered to last. It doesn't go soggy. The buttermilk proteins bond with the flour and fry into a shell that holds its texture for hours. The inside stays juicy because the low and slow frying temperature cooks the meat through without drying it out. After the Civil War, this became a Sunday tradition across black communities in the South, a meal that carried cultural memory, family identity, and celebration all in one dish. It wasn't just food. It was resistance, community, and pride plated on a cast iron skillet. And the reach of it, in 1952, a 62-year-old man named Harlan Sanders opened a franchise in Salt Lake City using his own Southern recipe. Today, KFC operates in 150 countries. One dish, two cultural traditions, infinite impact: Korean fried chicken. After the Korean War ended in 1953, American military presence left behind something unexpected: a frying culture. Koreans adopted the technique, then spent the next 5 decades completely reinventing it. By the 1970s and 80s, Korean fried chicken had become its own genre, and the secret weapon. Frying it twice. First fry at 320 degrees Fahrenheit renders out the fat beneath the skin, the chicken rests, then it goes back into oil at 375 degrees. That second fry dehydrates the surface completely, creating a crust so thin and so crisp it literally shatters like glass when you bite through it. The batter isn't thick American-style flour. It's potato starch, fine, light, almost translucent when fried. After the second fry, the chicken gets tossed in a glaze. Soy and garlic is the classic. Yongyum is the sweet, spicy red version. The glaze coats the outside without softening the crunch underneath. Koreans call the ritual of eating it chimek, chicken plus mikju, which means beer. It's a national institution. You order it on weekday nights during soccer matches at 1 a.m. when the craving hits. And the infrastructure built around it is staggering. South Korea has over 87,000 fried chicken restaurants. For context, that's more fried chicken restaurants than the entire number of McDonald's locations worldwide. K-dramas in the 2010s beamed this food culture into living rooms across Asia, the Middle East, and the Americas. Korean fried chicken went from a domestic ritual to a global obsession inside a decade. Japanese Karaage translates literally to Chinese-style frying, but what Japan built with it is entirely its own. The technique emerged in Oita Prefecture in the 1920s and spread nationally through the 1960s when it became a bento box standard. The process starts with the marinade. Chicken thighs, always thighs, never breast, because the fat content is higher and the flavor is deeper, get soaked in soy sauce, fresh ginger, sake, and mirin for at least 30 minutes. That marinade doesn't just sit on the surface, it penetrates. The sake tenderizes. The soy builds umami. The ginger cuts through the fat. Then potato starch coating thin, barely there, and into oil at 340 degrees, 2 fries like Korea. But where Korean chicken is about the crust, Karaage is about what's inside. The exterior is golden and slightly chewy. The interior is almost steaming with juice. Every bite delivers concentrated umami in a 2-inch piece of chicken. You find Karaage everywhere in Japan: convenience store counters at 7-Eleven and Lawson, izakaya menus, Matsuri festival stalls. Lawson alone sells tens of millions of Karaage pieces every single year. It's served with Kewpie mayo and a wedge of lemon, and the combination, rich, acidic, creamy, is near perfect. No thick batter, no dramatic crust, just precision marination and disciplined frying, producing something that tastes deeply, quietly, undeniably right. Nashville Hot Chicken. This one started as revenge. In the 1930s in Nashville, Tennessee, a man named Thornton Prince III came home late one too many times. His girlfriend, fed up, made him fried chicken for breakfast the next morning, loaded with cayenne pepper as punishment. The plan backfired. Thornton loved it. He started tweaking the recipe, opened Prince's Hot Chicken Shack, and built a business around the dish she created to hurt him. The process is Southern fried chicken at its base. The revolution happens after the fry. While the chicken is still screaming hot, it gets brushed with a paste: cayenne, brown sugar, smoked paprika, garlic, and lard. The fat carries the capsaicin into every crack of the crust. The sugar caramelizes slightly against the hot oil residue. The result is a crust that's simultaneously sweet, smoky, and brutal. It's served on white bread with pickled chips. The bread isn't a side, it's a functional component. It soaks up the drippings and the spiced lard that bleeds off the chicken, turning into something as good as the bird itself. Heat levels run from mild to reaper class, and at the top end, you're not just feeling heat in your mouth, you're feeling it in your ears. Tennessee declared it an official state food in 2013. By 2022, Nashville Hot Chicken had become a billion-dollar restaurant category across the United States. Chains, fast food versions, grocery store products, all descended from one woman's act of revenge in a Nashville kitchen 90 years ago. Chinese fried chicken, Zha Zai Jai. While everyone else was developing fried chicken over the last few centuries, China had already been doing it since the Song dynasty, around 960 AD. The Cantonese version Zha Zai Jai is whole bird frying at its most theatrical. The chicken is blanched first to tighten the skin. Then it's hung and air-dried completely. Any moisture left on the skin will prevent the crust from forming. It gets coated in a glaze of maltose and soy sauce, the same maltose used in Peking duck preparation, and then submerged in hot oil. What comes out has mahogany-colored skin that shatters when you tap it with a chopstick. The meat underneath is intentionally mild. The seasoning is minimal because the skin is the entire point. You eat it with dipping sauces, ginger scallion oil, sweet plum sauce, fermented tofu. This dish isn't casual. It's ceremonial. At Cantonese weddings, Lunar New Year banquets, and ancestral worship rituals, a whole chicken on the table means wholeness, prosperity, and family unity. Serving it cut up would break the symbolism. The whole bird arrives at the table intact, and the act of sharing it is itself the message. It's one of the oldest fried chicken preparations on Earth, and it's still made almost exactly the same way it was 1,000 years ago. Nigerian peppered fried chicken. Here's the argument food historians are increasingly making. West African frying traditions didn't arrive in America and get absorbed into Southern cuisine. West African frying traditions created Southern fried chicken. The technique was already there, brought by enslaved people who had been frying meat in palm oil for generations before they ever reached American soil. Nigerian peppered fried chicken is what that tradition looks like when it stays home and keeps evolving on its own terms. The chicken is parboiled first, simmered with seasoning cubes, ginger, garlic, and onions until partially cooked. Then it goes into hot oil, no batter, no coating. Just the naked bird skin crisping directly against the oil, picking up deep brown color that looks almost charred. After frying, it's tossed in a sauce of blended Scotch bonnet peppers and onions, or coated in dry suya spice, a blend of ground peanuts, ginger, paprika, and garlic. The spice doesn't sit on the surface. Because there's no batter barrier, it penetrates directly into the meat. At an Oemb, a big Yoruba celebration party, this is the centerpiece. It's eaten with jollof rice, fried plantains, and cold drinks. It shows up at parties in London, Houston, Toronto, and Lagos with equal intensity. No crust, no coating. Just spice, heat, and the pure flavor of well-fried chicken that's been marinated from the inside out. Austrian Backhandel. Every American who thinks fried chicken is an American invention needs to meet Backhandel, documented in Austrian cookbooks in 1719, a full century before American fried chicken appears in any written record. This is Viennese fried chicken, and the technique is the same one that produces Wiener Schnitzel. Chicken pieces go through a three-stage coating: flour first, then beaten egg, then fine breadcrumbs called semmelbürsel, shallow fried in clarified butter or lard until the coating is even, smooth, and perfectly golden. There's no thick batter, no aggressive seasoning. The crust adheres tight and thin to the surface of the meat. The butter frying gives it a richness that oil-fried versions can't replicate. It's served with potato salad, a lemon wedge, and often a light green salad, the kind of meal that feels considered and precise. In the 18th century, this was aristocratic food. Only nobility and wealthy merchants in the Habsburg Empire could afford to fry chicken in butter. It trickled down into Viennese beer gardens over the following century and became the working-class Sunday meal it remains today. It is older, quieter, and more refined than almost every other style on this list, and almost no one outside Central Europe knows it exists. Indian masala fried chicken. When Mughal emperors arrived in India in 1526, they brought with them Persian and Central Asian cooking techniques, including high-heat frying. Those techniques landed in a subcontinent that already had one of the world's most sophisticated spice traditions. The result, developed over centuries and refined into its modern restaurant form in South Indian cities like Chennai and Bengaluru through the 1980s and 90s, is masala fried chicken. The marinade is the entire architecture of the dish. Chicken sits for 4 to 8 hours in yogurt, turmeric, red chili powder, garam masala, cumin, coriander, and mustard oil. The yogurt does what buttermilk does in southern cooking, it tenderizes. But the spice load here is in another dimension entirely. Every component of that marinade is doing something. Turmeric is antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory. Garam masala adds warmth and depth. Mustard oil carries the heat into the muscle fibers. The coating is rice flour or chickpea flour, lighter than wheat, crispier when fried, into oil at 360 degrees. The crust comes out thin but intensely aromatic, vivid orange red from the turmeric and chili. One bite delivers earthy, smoky, tangy, and hot all at once. Regional variations push in different directions. Chettinad chicken is built around black pepper and kalpasi, a bark spice almost unknown outside South India. Andhra style is built purely around heat that makes Nashville hot look moderate. And that golden color from the turmeric, the compound responsible, curcumin, has been the subject of over 3,000 clinical research trials studying its effects on inflammation. The spice that makes this chicken beautiful also happens to be one of the most studied natural compounds in modern medicine.